Hey there, VMUG. Hope you're having a great day and learning all kinds of cool stuff. I am going to try and teach you a little bit about vRealize Network Insight as a platform and looking at all the integrations that VMware has. My name is Martijn and I am a technical marketing architect within the CMBU for vRealize Network Insight, and I am going to be available in the chat. So if you have any questions throughout this session, please put them in the chat and I will answer you there. And without further ado, let's get this party started. So if you're not aware about vRealize itself, I'm going to do like maybe 2 lines of the high level pitch. I am going to kind of assume that you know a little bit more about vRealize, but in its essence, vRealize is the network monitoring and troubleshooting platform within the virtual cloud network and everything below, meaning the virtual network, the physical network, the cloud network, the SD-WAN network, and then everything combined. So it's not a point solution for all the things for one single thing. It takes all the networking components, security components, and then mashes them together and puts visibility over the end-to-end solution there. So that's the marketing salute. Let's get a little bit deeper. The way that vRealize works is we add data sources to it, and all those data sources contain things like flows, metrics. It maybe has APIs like vCenter in order to grab information about the VMs and the virtual infrastructure that is running on that infrastructure. It looks at metadata of applications. It looks at events that are happening within the network and then combines that all into one. So let's say you have a metric coming from a VM and then also a flow coming from NSX. It combines those two in order to make sure that you have the full visibility within that network, right? So all of those different items will get correlated to each other, and then you'll be able to get that end-to-end picture without having too much trouble and without having 10 consoles open, if you will. So it's one place for everything, meaning the cloud, hybrid or public cloud. So if you have native AWS or Azure, or maybe VMware Cloud and AWS as a hybrid cloud, it pulls in all of the networking and security data from there. And then you are also able to troubleshoot stuff from the on-prem data center all the way down to the switch NIC level, and then plot out topology paths between your on-prem data center and but also towards the hybrid cloud. So if you are using vRealize Network Insights as a monitoring tool, you will be able to see the entire end-to-end path from your VM that's running on-prem into your VM that's running on VMware Cloud and AWS. So there's a lot of data there, and the correlation happens when the data comes in. So let's say you're monitoring vCenter, you're monitoring your physical switches, you're monitoring your hybrid cloud, your VMware Cloud and AWS environment. All that data comes in using these bottom bullets here. So anything from the SD-WAN, for example, anything from the physical switches, routers, load balancers. We're looking at metrics, we're looking at configuration, we're looking at events from the physical and the virtual network. So the SDDC or VMware Cloud Foundation is also very heavily integrated there. So that's VM based, but we also ingest data from container environments such as Kubernetes Vanilla or Tiki Tanzu Kubernetes Grid integrated, or maybe even OpenShift, and also branching out to the cloud. So all of the data comes into vRealize, and then it starts correlating those together. So it looks at the networking and security as separate parts, because you can use networking troubleshooting or security planning within vRealize. But then that also bubbles up into the application level. What that does, it looks at an application that is running on your entire environment. So whether that be a virtual server, a physical server, or a cloud server, doesn't matter. Those applications are discovered from that environment. You can also input that manually if you'd like, but typically you would use the application discovery within vRealize based on either metadata such as tags, naming conventions, or even a combination of both. And something new that's recently been delivered on-prem, but it's been available in the vRealize cloud for about a year, is flow-based application discovery, which basically does exactly what it says. So it looks at the network traffic that goes through the network and then correlates VMs and workloads together and then creates an application or suggests an application for you to save within vRealize. But the main goal is to get that application construct within vRealize. That means if you go to a application dashboard, you will see all the workloads that are a part of that application. But then you also see all the networking components that support that application. So if it's an on-prem VM, you can even see the physical servers, the physical switches, the physical network interfaces, all of that where the application is hosted will be visible there. Apart from the, or on the security part, same thing. So all the firewall rules that are applicable to that application, all the change operations that are happening on those firewalls. So anything that would happen network-wise is available on that application dashboard. So that's one way that it starts to correlate all of that data together, because the application is the part what you want to monitor and troubleshoot, right? It's typically not that an end user comes to you saying, hey, this switch port is saturated, or this network switch is behaving badly. They typically say, hey, my application is not working. So that's why vRealize focuses on that application so much. And it tries to make it easier for you in order to offer you those application constructs and then also correlate everything together. All right, so let's get a little bit more into the deep end. So like what happens in the actual data flow within vRealize Network Insight, and how can you use those data flows? So basically what happens is that every single bit and byte of data, whether it be flow, conversion, metrics, metadata from applications, gets ingested into vRealize. And then it starts to correlate that. I've been saying that for a while, but it's really important that you understand that everything is correlated together, because then the way that you can use that data changes a lot, because you don't have to go to individual switch ports. You can just say, hey, I've got this application and I want everything below that. So all of the data comes in, and now there's a couple ways that we can use that. We can also now there's a couple of ways that we can make sure that the data flow happens. So in the middle here, I've got the platform appliance. That's the appliance where the web interface is located in, where all the data sources are located in, the configuration is located in, etc. And there's a couple ways that we can push data towards that application, that platform appliance. First off, it's you. I mean, you can go into the web interface, you can configure stuff, you can add applications manually, you can add data sources, do searches, look at pinboards or create pinboards, look at all the dashboards that are available out of the box. So that's one way. So you go into the platform appliance and just do stuff. The other way is the API, where the API service is located underneath the web interface. So the web interface also uses the API service, where you can programmatically add the same things that you can do in the web interface. So you can set system configuration, you can add applications, you can create pinboards, you can do searches. So all of that is incoming data, right? So this is also a way how you can configure that, and I've got some references at the end where you can find some examples on that. The last way is via the collector, and the collector is another appliance that you can deploy, or have to deploy actually, if you want to monitor something, where all the data sources gets their data into the collector, and then the collector puts it into the data processing analytics engine within the platform. So the collector is the VM, the appliance that actually goes out to the data sources, does a show run, or gets the VM inventory, and then pushes that into the platform. So that's a fundamental part. Typically, you would start by deploying a platform and a collector, and then start collecting data there as well. So underneath that all, there's the data lake, and that's a combination between a time series database. We even have foundation IB for a key value store, and then Elasticsearch is on top of that. So Elasticsearch is the search engine that powers everything. So if you go via the web interface and you do a search, that goes into Elasticsearch and then gives you the results of that search. Meaning that all of those things, all of those metrics, metadata, infrastructure data is correlated or stored in that data lake, and then you can use Elasticsearch in order to get that data out. Meaning that you can search for any single thing within that platform appliance, which makes it that a lot more powerful than just having a couple dashboards. You can literally get anything that you want from it. So that's data coming in. Data going out can be done a little bit differently. So we have built-in alerts built-in alerts, and you can send emails or SMB traps going out. So that's a predefined format. vRealize will send the title and the body, and also a possible solution for a alert that it detects within the environment. So that could be either an operational problem, or it could be a conversion issue. If you're not following the best practices, for example, vRealize will alert that, and then you can go ahead and fix that conversion towards the best practice. So that's one way, but that's predefined. The other way is using the API. And this is where it gets interesting, because every single thing is available within the API. So you can search, you can pull out infrastructure data, you can pull out conversion data, you can pull out metrics, you can pull out flows, you can pull out anything that you like, basically. So this is where a couple of built-in or out-of-the-box integrations that we have, but also a mix and match of some flings that we have. One of those flings is the VMware HCX integration, where you can run a PowerShell script in order to take the applications that are running within vRealize or discovered in vRealize, the application constructs that I talked about earlier, and then push them into VMware HCX as a mobility group, meaning that you can discover your applications using flow-based application discovery, make sure that you have that application construct ready and fully visible as well, and then push that into VMware HCX in order to migrate that application. Another one is Vcenter, where we have a Vcenter plugin also as a fling, and I'll show you that in a little bit, where we have a networking dashboard that takes data from vRealize and then showcase that into Vcenter itself. It also has a launch and context, so you can go to a VM or a host and then click open in vRealize, and then it'll open the vRealize interface on the point on the dashboard of that VM or that host. So you can start networking troubleshooting for that specific VM or host or cluster even. So that's the launch in context. And then we have also vRealize Operations. That's an out-of-the-box management pack within vRops, where we also include the networking alerts from vRealize into vRops. So vRops has more context around the network inside it. And you can also do the launch and context parts. There's also an application sync, so the discovered applications that vRealize discovers from the infrastructure will also be available within vRops, and then you can dive all the way down to the process level if you're troubleshooting the application itself within vRops. Last one is that we also have an open source script that imports recommended file rules from vRealize into VMware Cloud AWS or NSXT. And that's just a Python script that's available on our GitHub location, and I've got the link at the end, where you can take the recommended file rules, so do security planning within vRealize Network Insight, and then push that directly into NSXT or VMware Cloud AWS. So you don't have to copy and paste or input them manually whenever you generate those recommended file rules within vRealize. And then lastly, the API itself is very customizable when you have an idea, such as like I want to get all the alerts to Slack. We also have an example for that one, by the way, but just as a couple of examples, alerts to Slack, export the flows to long-term storage. So vRealize Network Insight can only store flows for a month right now. So if you need to have those flows there for security purposes, for auditing purposes, for example, you can export them from vRealize and put them into long-term storage. We have an example with vRealize Log Insight, where we take the flow destination, port, number, timestamp, etc., and then push that into vRealize for long-term storage. You can do stuff like billing on a per IP basis, because we have those flows within vRealize. We have the amount of bandwidth that it sends. So yeah, you can, as a service provider, for example, you can export that data for a month and then bill based on the bandwidth, the traffic usage that vRealize sees. But basically, I mean, your imagination is the limit here, because the amount of data that's available within vRealize is ridiculous, and you can take anything out. So there's a lot of example use cases or a lot of stuff that you can do yourself there. So let's actually dive into a demo of the integration to Vcenter and the integration to vRealize Operations. All right, so let's start with the vRealize Operations integration. This is a built-in, so whenever you install vRealize Operations, it'll be in there by default, so you don't have to install anything else. And the way that you integrate vRops with vRealize is using the management and then integrations page, where we've got this vRealize Network Insight integration. If you're installing this for the first time, you'll see it empty and you can configure it, but this is how the configuration looks. All you need to do is provide a vRealize instance URL or IP address, credentials in order to do read-only access to vRealize. And then you can also do some advanced options in order to only import events based on common data sources, meaning that it'll only import events when the VMs are both known in vRops and vRealize, or the hosts or the NSX managers, anything that's in common. And if you also import alerts that are not common, it'll put them under a catch-all, and I will show you that one in the alerts in a bit. You can also import user-defined events. So if you define an event inside vRealize yourself, you can also import those, and you can also limit the import based on the severity that vRealize attaches to those events. So when you have this configured, it'll do a couple things. It'll start pulling data from vRealize. One of them is the alerts. And you can see I filtered by vRealize here. So anything that's prefixed with vRealize will be a vRealize alert, a networking alert. And you can see a couple of things here. So there's a couple of data sources that are in common, such as this application, this NSX Edge, this host, and can I see a VM? Yes, I can also see a VM right here. It's actually an NSX Edge, but it's a VM that makes it in common. And then all of these events come from vRealize, and if they are not correlated to a common data source or a common object, it'll put them in the vRealize alerts bucket. So anything such as related to a physical load balancer that is not monitored by vRops, it'll put into that catch-all bucket right here. So that's one. You will see those events pop up within your VM. So anything networking related or security related that happens to that VM, you will also see that in this VM dashboard. The troubleshooting workbench will include those alerts, etc. One of the other things is that it pulls the applications from vRealize. And if I go to environment and then look at applications right here, I don't have to filter on vRealize, but anything that's prefixed with vRealize is coming from vRealize. So all of these applications have been discovered from vRealize and then put into VROPS. So using either those metadata, so those tags or naming conventions, or using the flow-based application discovery, so just looking at the traffic, it'll place them in here. And you can also dive down a little bit deeper. So FunBike, for example, that's an AWS an application. And if I go to the topology, I can look at, we've got the account where it's coming from, so network insight. We have the application layer, and then underneath we have the tiers. And let me scroll that up. And then inside these tiers, we will have the, in this case, EC2 instances, because we are looking at AWS EC2 instances right here. So API 1 and 2. And anything that's then beneath that, that ACI instance or EC2 instance that VROPS is monitoring, such as the Elastic Network Interface or the storage where it's located on, or if you have application monitoring within VROPS, it'll also show you the process level statistics. But it combines those two worlds together, right? So vRealize discovers the app and then gives the workloads to VROPS, and then VROPS attaches the things that it knows to it. So I don't think there's any alerts on this one. Nope, indeed. So if there are any networking alerts with this EC2 instance, you will see that there as well. And let's just open up, let's say, a VM that I know, that's my vCenter, to show you the actions that we have. So again, we have the alerts. If there were any vRealize alerts, you will see that they're right there. But we also have this. So if you go to a VM, an ESXi host, or an application, you will have these actions here. So you can open this virtual machine within vRealize, meaning that it'll open up the dashboard for this this VM. So if I click this, it'll take me to vRealize, log me in automatically because there's SSO between these two. And then I have the dashboard, the networking dashboard for this specific VM. So I can look which VLAN is it attached to, what are the NSX firewall rules that are applied to this this VM, etc. And then even going down to like what is the physical network layer beneath this VM. I can see the path to the internet. So I have the default gateway router right here, which is a what is it actually? Oh, there's an Arista router, I think. Yes, so there's a Arista DCS 7050 with this version, this serial number, etc. So this is just a quick way to get from VROPS into vRealize and to get more deeper into the networking part of that VM or host or whatever you're looking at. So that's one thing that you can do, but you can also open the traffic details. So if I click this one, it'll take me back to vRealize and then shows me all the flows that's happening with this VM. So you can see there's not a lot here, but you can see source, destination, and if I open up this this tab, I can see the source VM, destination L2 network, destination host. All of that is like the correlation that happens within vRealize. But again, if you're troubleshooting networking issues, troubleshooting bottleneck issues with that VM, I can just go ahead and launch from VROPS into vRealize and make it a lot quicker to troubleshoot this specific VM. All right, so that's VROPS. Let me show you the Vcenter integration. So this is obviously this is Vcenter, but once you install the Vcenter plugin for vRealize, you get this this added dashboard right here. And this will pull up all the networking information from vRealize that's relevant to this specific vCenter. So I've got this this vCenter. I can also open it up right away. I can change the timing, so I can go to the last 30 days, for example. And then I've got the details right here. So I can see the east-west flows, the traffic flows, the internet traffic, the amount of virtual machines, vMotion snapshots. Luckily, my entire NSX installation is very good because I don't have any NSX triggered warnings right here. You can see the events, and again, if I click on either of these, it'll take me to vRealize. So let me just quickly do that so you can see it. So if I click the flows, it'll get all the flows that are applicable or going through this specific vCenter. And then you can drill down into the VM, the type of traffic, etc. So that happens also if you click on the events. So looking at the critical events, for example, see what's going on there. There are no new virtual machines accessing the internet right now. This is in the last 24 hours, so I haven't rolled out any new VMs that are going to the internet. I can also drill down into like the top 5 VMs or hosts based on network traffic. I can choose the actual VM right here, or packet drops, which is a little bit more interesting. So if there's a problem with either of these VMs or hosts, I can look at the network drops, and these are actually quite a lot. So I should probably take a look at that. And then lastly, in this dashboard, I also got the top talkers based on either VM, cluster, subnet, VM, all of that. And it'll show you like, this is my top talker, this VM is processing this amount of traffic by volume, or by the number of flows, or by the traffic rate, or by the network session counts. Right, so this is a clear, quick overview of what's going on within this vCenter networking wise, and you can drill down into any of these to check it out. But then we also have the launching context. Just like with vRops, you can go to a VM, and you can open it up, and I have a little bit too small screen, so if I do this again, and you can see we have this vRealize Network Insight extra menu. You can either open up the dashboard or open up the traffic details. So if I open up the dashboard, it'll take me to vRealize and give me the dashboard of that VM again, just like we've seen with vRops. So the recent problems, the flows, and also again the topology, where we can see the virtual components, such as the NSX firewall, but also the physical components, such as, in this case, this is a UCS manager, UCS1. And again, also path to internet and etc. And also, if you're troubleshooting it, there's also the Open Traffic Details tab. So it does exactly the same thing that you saw in vRops, where we will be searching for all of the flows that have this VM in common. So we have the source and destination, we have the traffic patterns going over that flow, the destination port, etc., etc. So that's another way to quickly jump between different products within the VMware portfolio, and then just more easily troubleshoot whatever you're looking at. So if you're looking at an infrastructure level issue, you would come to vCenter, you would look at the VM, look at what's going on, and then maybe determine it's a networking issue, and then jump into vRealize in order to get the bigger networking picture and the topology and all the issues that Network Insight has detected on that VM. Right, so this is the demo. Hope you got a little bit of a sense of what these plugins can do. Again, there's a lot more, but I will take you back to the slides in order to get you a couple of references if you want to learn more about more integrations that vRealize has. All right, so now that we've done with the demo, I want to give you a couple of references that will be available within this presentation when you download it. So the above one is all the data sources that we support and all the ingest of data. And then there's two links. The one that integrates HCX with the mobility groups, the one that I showed you inside vCenter. So if you install that one, then you get the dashboard and the launch and context within vCenter. We have the Network Insight SDK for Python. We have Power VRNI for PowerShell fans. And then a list of all kinds of GitHub repositories where we have a bunch of examples, such as the Slack integration if you want to put alerts to Slack. So all of that is available. And with that, I'd like to thank you very much for your attention, and I will hope to see you soon in real life.